they flat out said, "This is stupid." And I was like, "What do you mean this is stupid? And why are we doing it this way?"
Hi, I'm Jeremy with Northwest, and today I'm joined by Naomi, our Client Experience Director. Naomi, you've been here since the start. We've grown our team from just a few to well over 1,000, and along the way, we've encountered some systemic issues. How do you know when an issue has reached the point of becoming systemic and needs a bigger solution?
Well, I mean, what happens is you start hearing the customer bring it up, right? An increase in call volume for a very specific thing that maybe is off or not normal or whatnot. But also, your front lines are telling you, hey, like this feels like out of the norm or like a big red flag, or, what's important is to have a system in place where you can track data, because with data, you're proving data. You're not like saying, oh, it feels like it's a big deal, or like you take all of that out of there and you can essentially say like, no, like data doesn't lie. Like in the last 2 weeks, we've had 100 calls about a payment issue that we didn't have before, right? And so that speaks numbers, right? Like that speaks volumes, and it's not just your front lines or the customers feeling like something is not right.
We didn't always track all of the data. I'm assuming that is something that developed over time.
Absolutely.
Was there something that led to that?
We grew really fast, and we start offering other products and services. And so this one particular service, we started offering it to the customer. And sometimes, I mean, we always want to solve the client issue, right? So when we started offering this service, we just, as front lines, didn't question it and started doing this. We didn't even know it was a workaround, but it ended up being a workaround in order for the customer to like activate that new service that we were offering.
Okay.
So there was really no like specific infrastructure built in our client portal for the customer to have a better experience and be able to do it on their own, right? But we just kept doing it. We just kept doing it, and it ended up being almost like a Band-Aid or like duct tape. But it wasn't like we were doing that on purpose. It was just what we knew what to do in order to get that, right? And as things happen, when it's a lot and it starts feeling inefficient and it starts feeling weird, I went to a team meeting and they flat out said, "This is stupid." And I was like, "What do you mean this is stupid?" And they started to show me like the inefficiencies and how, all these things that we hadn't thought about, right? And I thought, I'll have this group collect sort of the data to see how actually impactful it is to the customer. But then, I go to a one-on-one, or I go to talk to some other customer service team and things like that, and they're bringing it up too. They're like, "Man, we're noticing that this is just not like, why are we doing it this way?" Right? And we hadn't really collectively thought about it. We were just going with the flow. Like, okay, here's this new service, let's just do it. And so we got organized and collected data over a short period of time to see how actually inefficient and impactful it was being for the customers, because they were wanting to activate this new service. And then we thought about like, why can't it be mimicked? Like maybe we can mimic it to this other service, or like create a path for the customer to have it on their own without having to call us. And brought it to, our tech group, or the group of engineers that helps with our client portal, right? But we had all the data and no feelings behind it, and we showed the actual impact, and they were able to put it at the top of their list and quickly come up with a fix and create a better customer experience and less phone calls for our customer service team to deal with this workaround.
Famed economist and management expert W. Edwards Deming once said that 94% of all workplace issues are systemic rather than the fault of an individual employee. That stat's kind of crazy. If you agree, let us know in the comments below. But stick around. Coming up, Naomi is going to explain how she identifies those systemic issues and then solves them with her team. Where do you go to implement something on a larger scale so you don't encounter more problems down the road where you're doing a workaround for maybe a month before you catch it?
First, you identify the problem, and then it might feel really big or like constant for front lines, and that's where tracking the data is super important. So you get it away from the I feel like it's a thing, and you create that. And then you start thinking about trial and error and exposure, right? Like learn from your lessons. So if we're gonna like activate or offer a service that's similar to that from what we learned, we know to call out and say, hey, make sure that you have this pathway in the client portal so that we're not forced to do this workaround, right? Like we already learned from this, right? And start mimicking those things, and also create a clear path for feedback for when things are not working, right? Again, it's really important to listen to your frontline and to your customers, but also it's important to like back it up with data, because sometimes things can feel really big and they're very tiny in like the bigger picture, and sometimes they're gigantic, and we need to, that's how data helps us through this pipeline, so that at the end of the day, the team that is going to solve that issue, that systemic issue, can prioritize things and get the work done, versus if they're just doing a little fix here, a little fix there, and just listening to everybody that's coming and throwing things at them, then it's almost like you're getting a lot done, but not a lot of anything.
So solving systemic issues takes time and energy, as we've discussed. How do you know when something is worth it? Let's say someone is growing their business and they're really starting to notice that they're seeing some of these more systemic issues. How do they know which ones are worth taking the time and worth doing that?
Let's say you're a new business, you have 4 people in the business, you're the owner, you have 3 employees, and you went to like a fair or a festival or something, and you gave out business cards. You gave out business cards, and then you're expecting like a bunch of emails or phone calls to come in, and they're not. And so you start, maybe you kept a roster of people that gave you their phone number, and you start calling the people, and they're like, oh yeah, we emailed you. And you're, what do you mean you emailed me? I don't see anything. And then another, and then another, and then you're collecting data, you're building facts, you're seeing a pattern, and then you look at your business card and there's a typo, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It's about listening to the front lines and then quantifying it to make sure, like, whether it's systemic or small, to be like, oh, I realize that something is broken.
Naomi, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. If you found this insightful, hit subscribe. We're here to help you grow your business, and our Northwest experts are here to answer any of your questions. Just leave those in the comments below.